you been making sculpture, and how did you get into it?
I started making sculpture about 32 years ago, 1992. I was studying to be, I was taking evening classes to be a cartoonist. I was working all sorts of odd jobs, and one of the positions that came up was in the tool room of the School of Visual Arts in the basement, handing out tools to kids at night. Nobody was really around. I was pretty much a big party school, so there was nobody really there working at night. So I just started fooling around with materials, building things. Soon thereafter, was introduced to working with steel by a professor there named Joel Perlman, who I became friends with, and pretty soon after that just started building work, and next thing you know, I had things in process.
What drew you to steel?
I don't know exactly what it was, but I remember the first time that I was looking through the shield at the arc spark, the welding the two pieces of metal together, the amount of energy that was released, the smell of the smoke, the sound of the sizzle of the steel. Just, I don't know, at that point I was in. I just loved it. It's like, wow, this is incredible. This is for me.
Are you rolling?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. We are currently in Kingston, New York, working in a facility that my friend has here on larger pieces for Staten Island and Omaha and possibly Michigan. So, as you can see, I have a trusty assistant when he's not. This is what he does when he's not, delivering presents to the good kids. See, he gets a little dirty. He's good. So come on, and we'll walk you through. This piece here that we're working on is called American Beauty, and we just put it together today. Some extra steel. This is the model for it here. And we're working on these base sections today. Possibility of bringing this piece back to the Navy Yard where we would work on this section, or we may do this section in the Navy Yard and then bring it up here. It depends. So I may bring this, I may coil this piece in the Navy Yard and bring it back up.
What is it about your process and the act of sculpting that keeps you going, keeps you inspired?
Well, that's a really good question, because it is a lot about the process. And being older now and having been in it for so long, I truly understand what drew me to it in the first place. As a young man, 22, 23 years old, like all other young people are, I was looking for purpose. I was looking for who I was, a sense of self. And when I discovered sculpture and making art, it fulfilled so many things in me that I didn't even really understand at that time. It gave me a sense of purpose. I felt like what I was doing was important, at least for me. The positive feedback that I would get from people about the work reinforced that. The whole process of making sculpture, it's physically and mentally and emotionally taxing, draining, and it allowed me to exercise this, to get out energy, both physically and mentally, while I was working on a piece. There's really, for me, like no other greater feeling than coming home to my wife and kids after a long day in the studio, where I'm physically just destroyed from working on new work, and the work is progressing and it feels great, and I can't even hardly hold my fork at the table sometimes because my forearms are cramping up. But it's been an amazing day of exertion and discovery, and making poetry out of industrial objects that just kind of really keeps me I mean, I love the process. I love the hands-on. I love the trial and error. I love the mistakes when they happen. I love the triumphs when they take place. And then, in addition, you know, the logistics involved with it, once the piece is done, figuring out how to get it out of the studio onto a tractor trailer, into a shipping container, or an airplane, across the sea, the continent, the globe, I find that fascinating as well. Dealing with the logistics of that, always really I find interesting, especially when we're working with tradesmen, crane operators, truck drivers who don't normally deal with art, and they get involved with working with us, and they get really into what we're doing, and it's really like, it's fun to see everybody work together and there's always a little bit of a different spirit for them, a crane operator, when he's lifting a piece of sculpture as opposed to an HVAC unit. You know, they really kind of like, they really get a kick out of doing something different. So the process is really important to me, and many times I've had people approach me to say, you know, you can just make a small model and we can 3D scan it and have it made out of styrofoam and then shipped to somewhere overseas and cast in stainless steel. You won't have to lift a finger. And I said, well, what fun is that? How is there any creative process in that? Like, that's the whole point of the process, is the whole point of the work, really, for me. So that's what keeps me going, is the process.
How does art fit into your life and vice versa?
How does art fit into my life and my life fit into my work? Well, I would say it's a very symbiotic relationship. I truly define myself as being an artist. My wife is amazing, and she's been fully supportive of, you know, me as a sculptor, which isn't easy at times. So I'd say, as my life, you know, I got involved in artwork when I was so young, 23. As my life developed and grew, art was a major part of it. But as life has elevated and become, I don't want to say more complicated, but a lot more stuff going on, the art and it's almost like they mesh together. There's days now where I may not be in the studio for days in a row because I'm dealing with things that need to be taken care of outside of the studio. 20 years ago, that would drive me bananas. But now, it's perfectly fine because it's an ebb and a flow, and one makes space for another, and then sometimes things need to be handled and taken care of, and you can move from one thing to the next. And I also find it very hard to work in the studio if I'm really worried about things that need to be taken care of on the outside. So I like to go sort of handle my business and then get things into at least a controlled state of chaos, and then I can get back to work. So it's very much a hand-in-glove type fit right now, and I think that my family and I have found a way to make it work where the important things are taken care of. And sometimes the important thing is loading a truck at 6 o'clock in the morning, or being away for a couple of days for an installation, or needing to finish a piece in the studio. And other times the most important thing is being there for my wife when she needs me, or my kids when they need me, or going to the supermarket and getting stuff for dinner, and stuff in the studio can wait. So it's a very much like a hand in glove type fit right now.
I want to circle back to your recreational life, because it seems like physicality really drives you as a person, and it inspires a lot of what you do artistically and in your free time. Tell me more about that.
Sure. Well, I've always been active as a kid. If you had put the metric on me back then, I'm sure I would have been ADHD, like off the charts as a kid. Sports is something that I've always loved to do. I just like to play almost any sport that's playable. I like to do it. Physical activity has always been important to me, just to settle my brain and to get some energy out. Some of the activities that I really enjoy doing when I'm not working is scuba diving, certified cave diver. Really enjoy the caves in North Florida. It's really like a really amazing place to go. I really like surfing, a lot of water activities, but I also love to go on a hike, or I kind of like to ski, although I don't get to do it very much. Biking, anything really to get outside and enjoy the world, for me, is always beneficial, and I always come away from that feeling, like I've experienced something. Even if I've done it a million times, I still come back feeling amazing, like I've just experienced the world, and for me that's very important to experience the world from an artist's perspective, because I'm trying to take everything in and ingest it and see how it comes out into my work. So I certainly don't mind taking time off here and there to go do fun stuff.
Black is all for you. Look at me. All my name is Breeze. Stand back. Feel the breeze. Oh, breeze, breezy, can't you see? That's what we used to do when we were younger. Too old for this shit. You gotta open up the Kill building and show Henry the zombie apocalypse.
What does this exhibit mean to you?
Well, the exhibit is a big deal for me, to be included with to be one of this 5 group of artists that were placed on the Gene Leahy Mall and then given a subsequent show at Kaneko. Richard Hunt, James Searles, Bruce Beasley, Linda Fleming, they're all very accomplished sculptors, people that I've looked up to over the years. I remember seeing Linda's work for the first time, I think maybe in 1994 at Socrates Sculpture Park when I was living out there working for DeSuvero, and I was blown away by it. Like, I was really amazed. Like, they're all amazing sculptors. And to be given the opportunity to have a show of this scale at Kaneko with the support that they've given me has really been it's been humbling, it's been challenging, it's been invigorating, and it's led me to create a whole new series of pieces for this show. The show is called The Answer is Love Exists, and Love Exists is the name of the piece that I have in the Jean Leahy Mall. And I remember I built that piece, I think in the middle of the pandemic, and that when it just seemed like there just wasn't a lot of hope going around, and there was a lot of fear, and I started to sort of question my process of how I make work and why I'm making it and how I just keep going. And I sort of came to the conclusion that art is just essentially just being hopeful, and in my life I can't have hope without love. Therefore, my sculptures are a physical embodiment that love exists, at least for me. In my world, like, love exists because these are proof that love exists. And I have a lot of love and support from my family and friends that I wouldn't be able to continue to make work without that support. It just would be impossible to do. They've been there at every turn for all the good and the bad, just to, help me pick myself up or let me wallow in self-pity for a day or two and then say, get back to work. So this exhibition, and the title, "Love." The Answer is Love Exists. It means a lot to me. How do I start the camera? Just press play? Oh, it's playing now? Oh, okay.